I would never want to make a record like that again. It was literally the three of us in a place and Scott over here somewhere else and sending over vocals that were, you know, we took on the role of producing that record. And as a producer, when those vocals were coming over, they were not satisfactory. They were not. They just weren't. And all of a sudden you start getting these visions of all those, you know, behind the music things coming up. And then you start having a British accent and going, hey, man, you're not playing that right. You know, and it was literally just making a record without four guys in a room. You're doing four different versions of music, of a song, to figure out what key is the best because the communication and the people surrounding Scott, it came to that point.
This is just our point of view. Scott's not here to give his point of view.
Yeah.
You know, he thought those vocals were fine. Yeah. He could say right now, fuck you.
Yeah. But he, you know, he came over to hear the songs for the first time and, you know, we were listening to the songs and, you know, he passed out in the chair. And we said, okay, all right, let's, you know.
It was very evident where Scott was going. He had a new posse of people around him as, you know, that just kept feeding him all that he was. And they left out one vital part of that, and that was his health and his well-being, because everybody just wanted money. And I think Robert and Eric and I exhausted ourselves just trying to help him and just be a friend. He wanted no part of that.
Well, I think when the truth comes around to someone that heavily in addiction, they want to run away from that. And that was well said, Dean. I mean, it's really sad to see. Really sad to see.
We wanted to continue to make music because, you know, obviously we have this Robert says it all the time when we get together and play. It's like, man, there's something that happens when the three of us get together and we really dig one another. After all these years, we really dig one another and we love spending time with one another and most of all playing music. And it was very obvious for many, many years that we were unable to do that any longer with Scott. And like, think of that, man. That's how we all establish a bond with one another. And yet the thing that really brought us together, we were unable to achieve. You know, it was very evident what how that was going to end, you know, and quite honestly, for us to be able to play music and make records, we, you know, fired Scott and we asked Chester if he was interested in being the singer of STP.
Yeah, with Chester, you know, it wasn't all about his talent. It was the energy that he brought into it that we so desperately needed at the time. I mean, he came into that going, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And you know what? He didn't need to do that. He was in a huge band. He had plenty going on. But he wanted to do this. And he was excited about doing this, you know, and he memorized all the lyrics and he went out there and he gave everything that he had, being I hate to use the word fan, but growing up with our music and growing up with Scott and growing up with STP. And he gave everything he had. And that was such a great thing for the three of us. I mean, I just look back at the touring that we did and the time we spent together, and it was just laughing and having a good time and such a positive thing and going out there feeling really energetic and great about this. He made us look back at our legacy and go, yeah, this is what it could be. And now that he's gone, I hear from people that he was so excited about doing this. I forget who it was that said it. It was someone who quoted this in the 1800s of saying, you know, everyone you meet has a battle inside that you know nothing about. And it stuck with me. It was like, wow. Like, it couldn't have been any more pointed than with Chester, you know? It was a huge, huge surprise. We live in the same community, so we took our kids to school and to baseball games, and, you know, I saw them all the time, and it hit really hard being from the same community. For all of us, it did, you know, and very surprising. I mean, we still get together weeks later here, and we're just like, we're scratching our heads and wondering what made sense to him at that moment, you know?
We're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we are. We are. It's definitely left some things, you know? It's definitely left some things.
Look, I think one of the greatest things in life that we can do, whether it's good or bad, is to be able to learn from another person's wrongdoings or by their good deeds. You know, we can learn from that and take from that. Like, I want to be like that, or I don't want to be like that. And man, it was just, it's just so sad to look back at what the four of us had. I'm talking about Scott and just his, you know, I'm just going to stay on the artistic side of things and leave the personal side of things out of it. And to be affiliated with somebody of that musical magnitude and to be so fulfilled by it, and to watch this person just kind of go into this deep hole of demise was just awful. It was just awful, man. And then it still is, you know. And yeah, you know, and you know, we'll always be reminded of that. And it just never fails. I don't know if it's something, some way of communicating, but just never fails. I get in the car, and you know, I never have the radio on. If my wife is in the car, she'll leave the radio on, and I'll get in, and there's Scott singing at me every time I get in the car. It's like, all right, I got it, man. All right.
Well, it's as, you know, it's as poignant as this, is getting in my car and having my you know, compass on in my car, and every time I'm pointing southwest, it says SW.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
It's Scott Weiland. So it's always that thing, you know.
We'll miss them for the rest of our days. We're gonna miss those two guys immensely. You know, you record music with somebody, you write music with somebody. That's very intimate. It's a very intimate setting. You're really putting all of yourself out there, and you're very vulnerable, and you stand the chance of somebody saying, I don't know if I'm feeling that. I don't know if I'm really feeling that song. And sometimes, you know, it takes everything to just kind of absorb that and take that and have the ability to move on. And these are two men that we had the luxury and honor of doing that with for many years. So really, really gonna miss those guys a lot.
So what does the future hold for you guys? Will you continue with a different singer?
We better. We put out a singer submission and got about 15 to 20,000 people, and tried a lot of people out, and we filmed it all. So there's some good entertainment there. You know, seeing.
Oh yes.
Seeing some.
I'm being quiet right now because I'm shaking my head.
Oh, yes.
Because there's some gems in there.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you know, ideally, it would be great to find someone who can put some honor on the legacy and move forward as a person. There's a lot to ask of someone to do that, to be have two different tasks.
Yeah, I'm just getting the hang of the thing. I'm just starting to get good at it. So yeah, we're going to continue to make music.
I know. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.